Hey everybody, we are reaching the end of quarter one, and so this week we're doing a project to kind of incorporate all of the skills we've been working on: lines, patterns, and shapes. So we're going to work on making a mandala. And what a mandala is if you've never seen one before, it's a circle with all these different kind of patterns with smaller circles inside it. So they're often used as symbols to kind of represent the whole universe. We see them sometimes in Asian cultures. You can also see them in Native American cultures, the Navajo. And so for some, it's a very spiritual symbol. For us, we want to respect that, but we are going to use them just to kind of practice some of the skills we've been working on. It can be very meditative to do it. You might have be really focused while you're working on it. And that's great. So paper, pencil, color of some sort, and then I've started collecting all these different circular objects that we'll use to trace to create our mandala. So look for things around your house that you could use to trace different size circles. So for example, I've got a dime, I've got a little bath toy. You could use a toilet paper roll. I'm always using those. I've got this little container of eye drops, but I could use the circle from the bottom of it. This holds ribbon, but it makes a circle, so I could use that. The rim of a glass is a good one. This lid goes to a candle. You could use that. The rim of a bowl, maybe your water bottle. I've got a pan lid I'm going to use. So go around your house and find, I'd say, at least 6 different objects of different size circles you can use to trace. And then line them up from biggest to smallest. I found it helps to start with the biggest object and then go smaller. Just helps you guide it and make it as centered as possible. It doesn't have to be right in the center of your page, but going biggest to smallest makes that a little easier. So I'm going to start with my biggest object, which is my pan lid. Place it towards the center of my page. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You might want to be really exact, or maybe you don't mind at all. And then I trace my biggest circle. Make sure your circle is not so big that it doesn't fit on your paper. So you can see that I traced my biggest circle. Then I'm going to move to my next biggest, which I think is my bowl. There's my next circle. So I'm going to keep going and get all of my objects traced onto my page. And remember, use at least 6 different objects, 6 different circles. All right, so I traced all my circles. I was able to get 7. And then I just added a dot in the very center. So you can see my circles aren't evenly spaced. Some are right next to each other, some there's a big gap. That's totally fine. Then we want to think about adding pattern using lines and shapes. So I'm going to work with my kind of felt tip markers to add my patterns. And if you wanted to trace, keep going in pencil and then trace over the patterns later, if you like to be very precise, go ahead and do that. But I'm ready to just go right in with the color. So I'm going to think about what kind of lines and shapes do I want to use. You need to use both lines and shapes when creating your patterns. So I might start with something simple and just do kind of like a scalloped line around my smallest circle. And it will kind of look like flower petals. So I went all the way around the circle using just that one shape. Next pattern, I'm going to use maybe a line and a shape back and forth. So as long as I'm repeating, it's a pattern, right? So I'll do a line and then maybe kind of a stretched out triangle, line, triangle. I finished that one. I think about another one. I might want to include some circles, and I'm going to come back doing circles and straight lines again. All right, so I'm on to my fourth pattern. I'm going to keep going with different lines and pattern combinations, line and shape combinations. So I'm going to do 3 lines, and then I'm going to do some triangles, 3 triangles. So let me show you how that looks. I'm just going to keep going around with my vertical lines and then some triangles. All right, so there's my fourth pattern. I'm going to keep going, trying to keep mixing up the colors. Try not to repeat a pattern. Maybe do it in a different direction. So I did in the center the scalloped lines going in. Maybe I'll do the scalloped lines facing the opposite direction. All right, so next up I'm gonna switch colors and try and use some diamonds. I haven't done diamonds yet, so maybe I'll do no lines in this one, but just shapes. All right, so I'm gonna add, I've got one more kind of large open space left. So I'm gonna do one more big pattern, and then I might do another line pattern just around the edge. Let's see, one I haven't done yet. I love circles, so I'm gonna keep going with circles, and maybe I'll do some triangles with my circles and create a repeating pattern that way. All right, so I completed all the circles, but I'm going to add one more just design around the outer edge. All right, so with this last one, I did that scalloped line again, but I added a line, a vertical line in between. So I kind of mixed it up. So there is my final mandala. You could go back and decide to fill in certain areas. If you've got the time and you want to go back and add, so maybe I could I've got a lot of white space in between these green triangles. I could think of something else to add there. Could probably fill in some areas with color. So I'll do that, kind of make it a little more detailed, a little nicer, and then I'm done. All right, last step of the project is go to your artwork slides, add a slide for this project, go to Insert, Image, choose Camera, hold up your artwork, take your picture, and insert it into the slides.